Salutations, readers. Welcome back to the Serial Writer channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today, I'm talking about all the worst books that I read this year. So, if you are new around here, welcome. And if you've been here for a while, welcome back. And I think when it comes to what I constitute as a worst book, I tend to have a very, very hard time answering it, because I don't usually rate books so low. And by low, I mean less than 3 stars. Like 3-star book is like, it was solid, it was decent, pretty good. If we get around like that 2.5 and lower, it's like, okay, there's something about this was not doing so well. Even 2.75s, I'm just like, And something I'm realizing that as I read more and more books, I'm starting to also find books that are not working for me. Whether that means I DNF more, or I start rating and finishing books lower than a 3, which I find that very fascinating because it helps me to know that, hey, as time goes on, I am evolving my reading tastes. I know what things don't work for me, and I also know what things do work for me. And granted, when you DNF so much, maybe you don't find those pretty low rated books, but a part of me wants to just keep going to kind of rate the book lower anyways, because I want that to know for myself, so that when time goes on and I refer to books that I have rated really, really low, I want to be like, why did I rate this book really low? Oh yeah, I finished it and something about it was just not giving it. So that's what this video is going to be. I have 12 books I'll be mentioning. There's only really top 10 that are the worst, but I do have 2 dishonorable mentions. And as y'all can tell, if you've been here for a while, you know that this setup is both familiar and different. As far as my YouTube videos are concerned, I usually record them downstairs, but today I decided to be over here where I usually have my reading sprints, at least in the past month and a half now. So we're doing a different setup, different place, because we were talking about books that I really did not enjoy, y'all. Like, good Lord, what were these books? Anyways, I have here a sparkling rosé, non-alcoholic. So we're gonna open this up, and then we're gonna get into our dishonorable mentions and then the worst books. Whenever you get a new bottle, always wipe it clean before you drink it. Anyways, let's get to our dishonorable mentions. Number 1, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I give this book 3.25 stars. I'm still debating on that rating. It might just be a solid 3. But y'all, I was pretty disappointed in this one. Now, if you don't know, The Night Circus is Erin Morgenstern's debut novel. It's a book of the circus peoples, and we have Celia and Marco who have this competition because of their fathers, or their mentors or whoever, who wanted to put in a bet for this competition on who's the best magician, whatever. This one was fine, but I read The Starless Sea in December, and I love that book. I had a great time with it. The Night Circus, I was actually pretty tempted to DNF it, but first of all, I read The Night Circus in January. And in January, there was a lot of snowfall, and I was shoveling a lot of snow. So I wanted an audiobook so that when I'm shoveling snow, I don't feel like I'm torturing myself being outside in the freezing cold and with a lot of snow to shovel. So I did push through to The Night Circus because of it. Because without that, I would not have finished this book, because I'm just like, yeah, Erin Morgenstern definitely worked for me with The Starless Sea, but The Night Circus, not so much. And it just didn't, because I wasn't really enthralled with the circus setting. I was kind of hoping so. I mean, it was definitely magical, don't get me wrong, but it was not my kind of magical at all. I didn't like the whimsy or the magic in it. And also, I really did not care for the romance between Celia and Marco. I actually thought it was kind of boring. I don't know. I feel like the romance between them kind of started way too late for the story, if they're going to go in that direction. And I'm just like, why are we here? And there's this other subplot with this other subplot, B-plot thing in a different timeline, a different world, I guess, with this little boy. And I'm just like, it's just, I didn't care for it. The Night Circus was just disappointing because I didn't care for it. The writing's still solid though, but just why it's around 3-ish, but I didn't really enjoy it like I did with the Starless Sea. Now, I think at the time I enjoyed it more, but again, I was shoveling snow, so it was something to just get me through that time. And it didn't completely bore me, but as over time, the more I thought about it, it don't hit. So that's The Night Circus. Now, this next dishonorable mention will be The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. So it's the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy and the sequel to the 5th season. I loved the 5th season, okay? It was one of my favorite books that I read in January. Now, I read Obelisk Gate in March, and I rated it 2.75 stars. It was so close to just being decent, but really, y'all, it was just, I did not care for the new POVs. I just didn't. I cared about Esu's POV. I didn't care about the other two. One of them I definitely preferred over the other, but that don't mean nothing to me. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. And unfortunately, that book really was the straw that broke the back for me to even continue on with the series. So, yeah, I didn't have the Broken Earth trilogy because of the Obelisk Gate. So, yeah, let's actually start now getting to our really worst books. So, I feel like my list here for the worst are pretty numbered. I think some of these books here could really move around, but I think the top 3 are actually like my worst reads. The numbers 4 through 10 can easily switch around, but 1 through 3, they are the same, y'all. They the same. All right, so let's get to number 10. Number 10 is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Coley. So this was a book I read for Blackathon in February. It's a contemporary mystery thriller, I think, set in New York. I can't remember where. Maybe it was Brooklyn. I don't forgot all the parts of the plot, but I rated it 2.75 stars. It was mostly fine, but I'm just like, it's like only a little bit above average, because I think an average book is like 2.5. That's literally halfway. Okay, that's the middle. So I gave it 2.75 stars, but I really didn't quite like our main character as much, especially when she was saying mommy a lot. I found that very weird when you're not a child. Maybe y'all don't find it weird, but for me, I find it pretty irritating to be hearing that quite a lot. And also, I didn't really like the romance that was developing between our female protagonist, our black woman falling for a white man. I could not care less about this white man. He was getting POV chapters. I'm like, bruh, I don't give a damn about you. I don't care what you're doing. Get out of this book. Now, I think the commentary on gentrification in a Brooklyn neighborhood, I think that was really, really good. It was definitely thrilling and definitely mysterious, but the romance between this white boy with this black girl here, I don't give a damn. That was not necessary at all. I could have lived without it. So maybe if they got rid of the romance, I would have been maybe a solid 4 stars, but yeah, nah, that's not it. Nope. Next we have Carmilla. Yes, the classic vampiric novella that predates Dracula. I read this one in January, and I didn't really like it. I don't tend to really read classics as much, but I did try to read this one because it was short. I owned it, and I wanted to read a vampiric book because at the time I was reading Carmilla, I actually planned to do like this long video experiment where I was reading like 6 vampire books because I was starting to get back into reading vampiric literature. Yeah, so when I read Carmilla, that definitely blew the experiment out the dust. I was really disappointed in Carmilla, actually. I gave it 2.5. I think it was pretty solid, but I think I ran it up to a 3 on Goodreads instead of like running down to a 2 like we usually would do, because I recognize that that's pretty, for the time, I think it kind of makes sense, but also like I was here for the gayness. I know it was classic and it was written by a man, but like I was here for the gayness, and I feel like it didn't have that lesbian vampiric gayness, at least to the expectation that I had with this novella. I definitely like the setup of this vampiric lore, though. That one was really, really interesting, which really kept me going. But the attraction between Laura and Carmilla, not to the level I was hoping for. Nice prose, even though the prose definitely confused me, so that's probably also affected my rating, which is why I want to give Carmilla a reread, but I'm going to read it with the Carmen Maria Machado's annotations and edit. I want to read that one because that version I heard really good things about that version and how it really helps a modern reader to really understand Carmilla. So I'm going to give Carmilla another try, but I'm not going to reread this particular edition again. No. So I'll read that and I'll let y'all know how that one goes to see if my thoughts on Carmilla changes. Next, we have Dawn of the Moon Goddess by Sulan Tan. I read it for Asian Readathon. Give it 2 stars. I'm disappointed in this one, actually. I actually thought it would be lower on my list, but no, I've read worse books. I was like, you know what? I've read worse books than this, or books that really infuriated me. This one, I really wanted to like it. I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt because I already knew going in that was giving like fantasy, romance, romantic fantasy, whichever one. I think this one specifically is more romantic fantasy. I want to give it a shot. It was a debut author. I had a really pretty UK edition. Very pretty. I pre-ordered Dawn of the Moon Goddess and its sequel, Heart of the Sun Warrior, without even reading them, which was a mistake. I should not have done that. Learned my lesson on that. because I did not like it. It was easy to read. I did like the writing. My problem was our story with the plot, main character, and the romance. Story-wise, I thought it was pretty average, which would be fine. I could have given like a 3-star for that. Main character, she was actually pretty annoying and very indecisive. I'm just like, girl, what are we doing here? Like, can we move along? Why? You too wishy-washy. Make a decision and stick with it. I know you're trying to consider your options, but you're taking way too long. I know some people don't really like a very impulsive female main character, but if you don't want an impulsive one, then read Dawn of the Moon Gods, because she ain't that impulsive, so y'all can have fun with that. And then the romance, there's a love triangle, which I knew going in there'll be a love triangle, but I want to give it the benefit of the doubt, because people that I trust with the reviews and stuff, that they don't usually like love triangles, they had a good time with it. Me, nah. The 2 other dudes, I'm just like, I could care less with those other ones. I really could care less. I don't even think Shinji really deserves like the other 2. I think Liwei and Wenji, yeah, don't bother with those 2. And also another thing too that really made me mad though was the idea that this was going to be a duology. Like, Dawn of the Moon Goddess does not need to be a duology. It can be really fine just as a standalone. There is nothing about it. I mean, there is the whole idea regarding the love triangle, because the love triangle is not like really solved by the end of the first book. So you do have to read the sequel for that, but I didn't read the sequel. I'm not missing much, so take that as you will. And also, I have heard that a lot of reviews, at least from people that I trust, that I've seen, who really loved the first book, when they read the sequel, they did not have a good time. There's only maybe 1, maybe 2 people that I follow and know who has read that duology did actually like the sequel. There's like 2. Everyone else, they did not like it, or they haven't read it yet. But most of the ones that did read it, they did not like the sequel at all. So clearly I'm not missing it. I'm not missing much, now am I? Next we have, this is actually the only book on this list that I actually have physically with me. And that is Bitter Medicine by Mia Sai. This is actually a book I read in November, and as I'm recording it, my November and December wrap-up has not been filmed, edited, or uploaded. So y'all will know my full thoughts on Bitter Medicine pretty soon. The thing about this... Okay, so this is a book that literally came out this year, right? It's a debut novel. This is a contemporary fantasy romance. I know. You're probably wondering, why did you do that? I wanted to give it a shot, okay? Debut author, written by Taiwanese American author, so different kind of writing, and also I was very curious to follow a descendant. So main girl here is a descendant of the Chinese god of medicine named El, and then we have the main dude here who's a French half elf named Luke. I want to give it a shot. I was like, you know what? For a book that published first in paperback, I'm kind of curious. I was curious about it. So the things that didn't work for me: writing, it needed work. Pacing, the main thing about this that really made me go like, okay, this is like 2.25 stars. Cause what in the world was the pacing? Oh gosh, we need some editing work on the pacing, because what on earth was going on in here? We were doing too much. And also too little at the same time. The only thing I felt like was kind of the saving grace was actually the romance. I did like seeing Elle and Luke together. My problem, though, is also the progression of their romance. I didn't really like it either, because that goes with the pacing, the plot, and the romance itself. Well, the pacing was not good, but I like the romance itself, so that's a plus, which is why it's not ranked lower, despite it being 2.25 stars. But it's just, it's not that good. But it's interesting, though, because I am curious to see what this author has in store in the future. I think there's room for improvement. There is potential here, because the concept of the world here is actually pretty interesting. I just wish we had better writing, pacing, and maybe worked a little bit more on our dialogue. I think this would have been a pretty solid book, but alas, we are here. Next up, I have Bloom Into You, Volume 1 by Nakatani Neo. This is a part of a very short manga series, and it's been so long since I read it. I don't quite remember when I read it. Was it March? I think it was March. I rated this one 2.5 stars, and I'm definitely not going to continue on with this manga series at all. So this one follows 2 high schooler girls who, is it high school or junior high? I can't remember. But I think one of them is pretty much giving like aromantic, maybe aromantic spectrum kind of things. And the other girl is definitely gay. And I think it's just very, very interesting. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to really remember what else happened. Okay, I think it was the fact of the setup, I think. I don't know if it was really gonna be romantic, but they're starting to have some sort of a relationship. And then there was something about the other girl that was really full of our arrow spectrum of girl that I didn't really like. I thought her would be a little bit kind of weird and kind of creepy. I didn't really like it at all. Yeah, there's not really much I can really say because it's so long ago and so forgettable that I'm just like, I don't really have much to say about it, honestly. But it was just so, I just felt icky. I know I give it 2.5, but really, I think I probably should have rated it lower because what? Especially for how forgettable it is, I definitely should have rated it lower. Definitely a very short manga series, and I was really looking forward to it because it most likely was going to have like substantial arrow spectrum, some sort of rep, but I was not liking the development of this particular relationship at all, so nah, I'm good. Now we're getting into the top 5 worst books. Now these top 5, I have more to say about. In the 5th book here, I already have a dedicated reading vlog for it, so y'all can already watch, or if you've already watched it, then y'all already know how disappointed I felt about this book, and that is Foul Heart Huntsman by Chloe Gong, the sequel to Foul Lady Fortune, a book that I've been anticipating for about a year. The way I pre-ordered this book, and then I read it right away. I read it in like 2-3 days. And the way I said, so we're on hauling this, right? Yeah. I've been reading actually I read every single one of Chloe Gong's books. Well, technically speaking, I really should say I attempted to read because I did not read. I didn't finish reading Immortal Longings. You already watched it on my 2023 DNF'd wrap video on that one. But Foul Heart Huntsman, I was just really excited. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt because it was such an anticipated sequel. And yeah, it just didn't work. I found it really boring, and I felt like pretty repetitive. In fact, I felt like the actual structure of this sequel just reminded me way too much of Our Violent Ends. And I'm just like, are we just somewhat copy and pasting what happened with Our Violent Ends as far as structure-wise to Foul Heart Huntsman? Now, I know it's in the same world, and I do know it's a sequel series, but it should not be that similar, should it? But now, granted, I know I'm a pretty avid fantasy reader, but I'm not really the kind of fantasy reader that tends to read books that have multiple series within a world. That's not the kind of fantasy reader I am. So maybe this is just something that's just average or pretty normal in sequel series, but I don't want that kind of same structure to be overlapped from one series to another like that, even if it's from the same author. I don't like that at all. And also, the book definitely was written in a way that Chloe Gong really want to elongate the story for whatever damn reason, and I'm just like, that's so unnecessary. We had way too many characters with not a lot of depth. But yeah, I was very disappointed. For someone who was really excited and had Foul Lady Fortune as one of their favorite books, Foul Heart Huntsman is definitely one of the worst. Book number 4, Teen Titans Beast Boy Loves Raven by Camille Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo. I gave this book 2.75 stars. This book was actually a reread. I reread only 2 books this year. I'm not really an avid rereader. I'm trying to do some rereading. I reread this book because I wanted to read the new book that was coming out, the new installment in this series. When I reread this book, I'm just like, did I really like this book 2 years ago? 2021 me and 2023 me? Where? What happened with reading taste? Because this one was not it. Not it at all. In fact, it was actually pretty boring. I didn't understand what drew Beast Boy and Raven together to love each other. And then we had Max, and then we were also introduced to Damien, who is pretty much gonna be one of the main focuses in the next installment, the new installment that I was waiting for. And I really didn't care for their attraction because I'm just like, what? Why are you two attracted? I don't understand. I don't ever understand it. And it really sucks too because the art is really, really nice, but yeah, the story was lacking. The writing for the story was also lacking. I'm just like, what is this? So yeah, 2.75 stars. It wasn't the worst one, but definitely not good. And then number 3 though was worse because Teen Titans Robin. This was the 4th installment in this Teen Titans graphic novel series. Same author, same illustrator, but this one was worse, y'all. This was not good. 2 stars because what in the world was Damien doing trying to pick a fight with Dick Grayson? This installment really made me go see, this is why I don't deal with a character anytime that I feel, every single time I hear anything regarding the Batman universe or anything regarding the Robins, I don't deal with Damian Wayne because he seems to be such an annoying kind of character, and it says it's so frustrating to me, and he was even more annoying here. I'm just like, bro, why are you acting such a whole child? Stop playing around. You're wasting too much page time. Like, half the graphic novel is just Dick and Damien trying to, like, one-up each other. Really, it's more Damien, really. Dick's just doing it so that he can try to get closer to Damien, because it's like, geez, bro, why you, like, bro, just, I'm tired of the, oh, I feel like I'm being replaced, or, oh, I have to one-up someone who's been with my biological father longer than me. Like, it's like, bruh, the daddy, I'm not here for your daddy issues that you choose not to really resolve, because it's not really even the focus of this graphic novel. And also we have the whole thing with Hive, trying to find these kids. I'm just like, child, I don't want to bother. In fact, this installment made me go, yeah, I'm DNF'ing this entire graphic novel series. There's a 5th book coming out following Starfire, and I'm not here for it. I'm not. And I'm definitely not gonna read anything from Kami Garcia ever. So I don't like her writing this graphic novels. Okay, now let's get to number 2. Number 2 actively aggravated me, because I'm like, why the hell did I not DNF this book? Okay. Number 2, the second worst book I read this year. Court of the Undying Seasons by A.M. Strickland. If this book seems familiar to you, it's because I was reading it for the Full Moon Book Club hosted by Jan from Jang Akaton. Yo, why did I'm still baffled that I did not DNF this book. I read this in August. I just really wanted to read it. I got a physical copy, and I was really excited because it's going to feature a main character. What was her name? Finn, who may or may not identify as a demigirl, so that'd be demigirl red, which I was really, really excited for. And then I read it, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to read anything from this author ever again, because, first of all, did not like the writing, not a big fan of it. I pushed through because I was so optimistic, and also want to read for a book club, so definitely should have DNF'd it. 2, main character. I did not like Finn. Finn really irritated me. All her decision making, all the things she was thinking, feeling, I'm like, girl, I do not care about what you think or feel right now, because you are so irritating. I wish we could follow someone else. I think she made a friend. I want to follow her friend, because her friend at least was making some more sense. Like, I was not having it with Finn. 2, the romance with her, between Finn and what's this dude name? I don't remember his name. Completely forgettable. That whole thing between the two, I just don't get it. There's nothing. There's no chemistry. What is there? Besides the fact that maybe he looks attractive. Yeah, they're vampires. This is like a vampire book. And I'm like, I thought this would be my bag, because I was like, really like some vampire stuff. But no, this one was not it. And then the last third of the novel was going way too fast, because I'm like, what is all this setup? What is all these revelations? Now all this stuff is relevant, bruh. The setup was not there, so pacing was also a problem. World building, I mean, it was interesting, but it didn't really do much for me when we got really like halfway through. Like once I got halfway through, I was like, I was pretty over it, the school setting. So that was definitely not it either. I'm like, bro, why are we still here? Again, a part of me wanted to be so optimistic, but I really should have just DNF'd it, because I was not missing out on anything. It was just not it. I gave the book 1.5 stars. Now, let's get into the worst book that I read this year. My very first 1 star. Now, yes, granted, I did rate this book a little bit higher when I first read it. But over time, when I really thought about it, when I really thought, what does a 1-star book mean? How does a book reach 1 star? I finally found my answer. A book that is 1 star is when I feel like I am getting nothing from it. The book doesn't necessarily have to even be objectively bad or even problematic or offensive for me to give it 1 star. As long as I feel like I'm suffering, I'm mentally not getting anything from the story, whether that is entertainment, whether that is something new, something interesting in the writing or the world or the characters or even the plot. If I feel like I'm numb, like I'm practically numb, I'm just here like, yeah, this is a book. That's a 1 star. And I felt this way about this book, y'all. It's The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. Y'all, what was this book? Again, I read it for the Full Moon Book Club. It was terrible. Why? I don't understand. And you know what? This was a sign. I should have just known not to bother with this book because of the marketing. Now, the only thing about the marketing that I really know of was really the com titles. I saw, first of all, it was Dark Academia. It followed a deaf protagonist, which I thought was really cool. I'm like, okay, Dark Academia, young adult, paranormal fantasy. I'm like, okay, sure. Deaf protagonist, that's really, really cool. Never really read a book with that. My problem, though, was the com titles. So we had The Raven Boys, meets Ninth House. Now, I should have known that that was a mistake, because last year, the worst book I read was The Cloisters by Katie Hayes, and that book was compared to The Secret History and Ninth House. Y'all see the pattern? Y'all see the pattern? Why did I not listen? I was trying to, let me give the benefit of the doubt. Just because it's compared to Ninth House, a book that I DNF'd halfway through 2 years ago, that doesn't necessarily mean that it won't be good. No, it was not good. What? I shouldn't have bothered. Why? Yo, This is just a known given that anything that's compared to Ninth House just doesn't work for me. This was like the most boring ass shit that I've read this year. Why the hell did I not DNF it? You know what's also funny too? I started reading it physically, right? I tried reading it physically and I DNF'd the physical book. Then I decided to pick up the audiobook, despite the fact I DNF'd the physical book. Why didn't I not listen to my own instincts? I should not have bothered. I should have just left the book alone. But no, I wanted to give the book a benefit of doubt. And I want to read it for a book club. The first time reading a book for a book club, and I'm reading it at the time that we're supposed to be reading it for the discussion. I should have just left it alone, because clearly when I was listening to the audiobook, I felt like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what are we doing? Nope, I should have not bothered. It was so boring and so kind of confusing, but not in a fun way. So damn boring. I'm like, this felt like nothing. I was reading nothing. I do not recommend The Whispering Dark. I don't know who The Whispering Dark is for. I mean, it was fine, technically speaking, as a book, but as a reading experience, I should not have bothered. Anything that's compared to Ninth House, I'm dipping. I'm like, nope, remove from TBR. I'm removing it from my brain. I'm going to forget that this book existed, because clearly anything compared to Ninth House just does not work for me. I'm so done. So done with these Ninth House comparisons. But anyways, that's pretty much all the worst books that I read this year. It feels nice to talk about all the books that did not really work for you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the video. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to. Comment down below, what were y'all's worst books of the year? Are any of these books that I read, are any of them y'all's worst books? Did y'all love the books that I read? Please, let me know. What were the worst books you've read this year? Even if it's a book that I particularly loved, I'm just curious. Because at this point, I'm here to be kind of like a hater right now. So y'all just give me your worst books. Please let me know in the comments. If you made it this far into the video and you don't have much to say, you just want to leave an emoji, just give me some sort of emoji that reminds you of anger. Whichever one of the emojis that says, I am angry, or you would have light this book on fire. Anything like that. Put that in the comments down below, okay? Thank you all for coming on to this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye.